Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. In this video, I'll be covering GCSE Chemistry Topic 4, triple content only, covering titrations, the practical details, and the calculations. Make sure you check out the link in the description for a free Topic 4 knowledge organizer where you can test your recall and understanding across this topic. Just pop in your name, email, and phone number and we'll send it right over to you. Also linked below is my resources where you'll find free GCSE study notes complete with video explainers, practice questions, and video solutions. And finally, it's not too late for you to sign up to our exam masterclass, which includes up to 10 hours of GCSE chemistry revision, covering key content and exam technique across paper 1 and paper 2. It's £59, link is in the description. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, topic 4 triple, which is basically just titrations. Let's start with just the basics. What is a titration? A titration is typically used to determine the exact volumes of an acid and an alkali that react with each other in a neutralization reaction. So we would set it up in apparatus that looks like this, where we have our burette, which is filled with one of our solutions. For example, that might have our acid solution in it. And that solution, we know what the concentration is. Then down here in our conical flask, we would have our other solution, for example, our alkali solution. And in the conical flask, we know the volume. We also add an indicator. So now what do? We slowly add the acid solution from the burette into the alkali solution in the conical flask. And as soon as neutralization is complete, right, the reaction is done, then the indicator will change color. Once the indicator changes color, that means we know exactly what volume of the acid we needed to react with our alkali. So let's say our starting volume was here, our initial volume, and then after neutralization was done, when our color change took place, this was our final volume. This difference in volume tells us now the volume of the acid that we needed. And once we've got the concentration and the volume of something, we can, of course, calculate the moles. Okay, so let's go through this step by step. Let's go through that titration method and how we use the results to calculate any unknown concentrations that we might want to find. Now, going through that method in just a bit more detail, as we mentioned before, we're going to start by making sure that we've got a known volume of our alkali solution in our conical flask. And the way that we measure that known volume is using a pipette, not a dropping pipette, right, that you use to add like drops of things, but a volumetric pipette that accurately measures a fixed volume. So if we wanted, for example, 25 centimeters cubed of our alkali solution, then this volumetric pipette would be a 25 centimeter cubed pipette, right? And then we would have our accurately measured volume of our alkali solution in our conical flask. Next up, we're going to add a few drops of indicator to that alkali solution and place it on a white tile. And that's going to allow us to see that color change at the endpoint more easily. We can then fill our burette with acid and record the starting volume. When we record the starting volume, we record that volume at eye level and we read from the bottom of the meniscus. When a liquid goes into our glassware, it's going to form a bit of a dip. And when we read the volume, we read from the bottom of the dip, which is called the bottom of the meniscus. And we're going to record that starting volume or our initial volume. Oops. Okay. Now we've got our burette and our conical flask all set out. Now we can start to slowly add the acid from the burette into right, the acid in the burette into the alkali in the conical flask while we're swirling to make sure that everything is actually reacting with each other. Now, once the indicator changes color permanently, that is the end point, and that is when you stop adding the acid, and you will note the final burette reading. So the burette reading at the end. So our color change, again, depends on which indicator we're using, but it needs to be a distinct color change. So before the titration, your solution might just be colorless. And then at the end point, we've got the permanent indicator color change here, which is pink. Now, we can't just do the titration once. To make sure that we've got an accurate volume that was required, we're going to repeat all of these steps. But this time, when we're repeating it, when we approach the endpoint, because we know approximately what volume we're going to need from the burette, as we get close to that volume, we're going to start just adding from the burette drop by drop or drop-wise. That means we're going to get the most accurate volume possible. We're going to repeat that until we obtain what we call concordant titers or concordant results, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. Now, as just mentioned, the first titration that we do, that is our rough titration, right? To find out approximately where our endpoint is. And of course, we always measure the initial volume from the burette, the final volume from the burette, that's at the endpoint when the indicator changes color. And then the difference between these two values is called the titer, right? That's the volume that actually ran out of the burette. So to calculate our titer, it's just the final volume minus the initial volume. So in this case, that would be 24.95 centimeters cubed. That's our rough titer. Now for our actual trials, this is when we start to add our acid drop-wise, drop by drop, as we approach the endpoint. So for our first trial, our titer was 24.60. For our second trial, 49.1 minus 24.60 is 24.50. And then finally, for our third trial, maybe something went a little bit wrong here, but we got a value of 24.80. Now, when we calculate the mean titer or the mean volume that we needed from the burette, we only use the concordant results. And concordant results are the titers that are within 0.10 centimeters cubed of each other. So looking at our titers here, our concordant results would be from our first trial and our second trial, because these are within 0.1 centimeters cubed of each other. So when we're calculating the mean titer, we'll only use those concordant results, 24.60 plus 24.50 divided by the number of values that we've used, which in this case is 2, to give us a mean titer of 24.55 centimeters cubed as our final answer. Let's now put this all together to see how we can use the results of a titration to calculate the concentration of an unknown solution, or the unknown concentration of a solution. You know what I'm trying to say. So here, Joe titrated 25 centimeters cubed of HCl with 0.15 moles per decimeter cubed of sodium hydroxide. So linking that to our titration setup, we've got 25 centimeters cubed of HCl. That is our known volume. So that must be the volume that we measured using the pipette and put into our conical flask, right? 25 centimeters cubed of that. And then in the burette, that's where we know the concentration. So here, the sodium hydroxide must be in the burette. Okay, even though the example that we saw before had the acid in the burette and the alkali in the conical flask, it can go either way. Okay, so read the question carefully so you know what's in the burette and what's in the conical flask. So we know that concentration. Now we're going to carry out our titration, and with our trials, our rough trial and then our 3 dropwise ones, our accurate trials, we determine the titer, which is the volume of sodium hydroxide used. If we now want to calculate the mean titer, of course, we're only going to use our concordant results. And actually, all 3 of these are concordant results because they are all within 0.10 centimeters cubed of each other. So to calculate the mean titer, 22.55 plus 22.50 plus 22.50 divided by 3 to give us a mean titer of 22.52 centimeters cubed. That is now telling us the volume of sodium hydroxide that was needed to react with 25 centimeters cubed of HCl. So now we know the volume of that as well. Well, that's quite handy because if we know the concentration and the volume, we can calculate the number of moles. So let's now work through our calculation part B, calculate the concentration of HCl in moles per decimeter cubed. Now to do this, I'm going to set out my calculation by just rewriting my equation here, just so that everything's nice and clear. I don't want random numbers all over my page. I want to make sure that I know exactly what everything means. So from my titration, I have got the concentration of sodium hydroxide as 0.15 moles per decimeter cubed. And from the titer, the titration, the mean titer, I've got the volume of sodium hydroxide that was needed, which is 22.52 centimeters cubed. Now from that, I can calculate the number of moles. I'll put moles, even though I'm going to use N later on, right? To calculate moles, number of moles are equal to concentration times volume. So that will be 0.15 as our concentration multiplied by 22.52 divided by 1,000. And that's because our volume has to be in decimeters cubed, right, to match our concentration units. So currently we're in centimeters cubed, so centimeters cubed to decimeters cubed, divide by 1,000. And that gives us as our mole 3.378 times 10 to the minus 3. Okay. Now I've got the number of moles of my sodium hydroxide, I can relate that to the number of moles of my HCl by using the molar ratio. Now, looking at this balanced symbol equation, the sodium hydroxide and the HCl are reacting in a 1-to-1 ratio, right? We've got invisible ones in front of here. So that means the number of moles of HCl will also be 3.378 times 10 to the minus 3. The volume of the HCl we've already got from the question is 25 centimeters cubed, which I know is going to have to be in decimeters cubed. So divide that by 1,000, 0.025 decimeters cubed. And so to calculate the concentration is equal to moles over vols. So 3.378 times 10 to the minus 3 over our volume 0.025 to give us a final HCl concentration of 0.135 moles per decimeter cubed. Now, this question hasn't explicitly asked to give the answer to a particular number of significant figures, but based on the question and best practice, our volume here was given to 3 significant figures. Our concentration was only given to 2 significant figures. So we would always give our answer to the least number of significant figures. So here our final answer, or our best answer, is 0.14 moles per decimeter cubed. Okay, everything here is labeled, right? Even though there are some numbers, it might look like they don't have a label, but they're in line. This is like a table, right? So we've got all of our concentrations, we've got our volumes, and we've got our moles down at the bottom. Let's try one more slightly trickier example. Okay, next example, we have got 15 centimeters cubed of citric acid, which is this, reacting with sodium hydroxide. We've got the balanced equation, and we are told that 22.5 centimeters cubed of sodium hydroxide is required to reach the endpoint. Calculate the concentration of the citric acid. Now, again, we'll use the exact same approach, right? We've got our acid reacting with our sodium hydroxide. To be fair, do I need to write those products out? No, I don't want to. because I don't care about them in the calculation anyway. Now, just like before, I'm going to read the question really carefully and figure out what do I have enough information to calculate the moles for. Well, we're told we've got 15 centimeters cubed of the citric acid. That's the volume. We've got 0.12 moles per decimeter cubed of sodium hydroxide. That is the concentration. And we're told that we needed 22.5 centimeters cubed of the sodium hydroxide for the endpoint. So because we've got the concentration and the volume for the sodium hydroxide, we can start by calculating the number of moles for the sodium hydroxide as concentration times volume. 0.120 times 22.5 over 1,000. Again, we need to make sure that's in decimeters cubed. And that gives us, for our number of moles, 2.7 times 10 to the minus 3. Okay? Now I can use the balance symbol equation to link the number of moles of sodium hydroxide to the number of moles of the acid. And so the ratio here is 3 to 1, right? 3 moles of sodium hydroxide for every 1 mole of acid. So to relate those, I'm going to divide the moles of sodium hydroxide by 3 and then multiply by 1. And that's going to give me the number of moles of the acid. So 2.7 times 10 to the minus 3 over 3 is equal to, what's that? 9 times 10 to the minus 4. Okay. Now I've got the number of moles of my acid. I can use the volume to calculate the concentration, remembering that concentration is moles over voles. So that's going to be 9 times 10 to the minus 4 divided by the volume in decimeters cubed, so divided by 1,000. And that gives us a final concentration of 0.06 moles per decimeter cubed. I'm going to put my answer nice and clearly here. The concentration of the acid, 0.06. Based on the number of significant figures, I'm going to put a couple more here, moles per decimeter cubed as my final answer. Again, note I chose 3 significant figures for my final answer because here that's 3 significant figures, here that's 3 significant figures, and here that's 3 significant figures as well. If you just said 0.06, don't panic, don't worry, that's fine, right? This question didn't explicitly ask to give your answer to a specific number of significant figures, so you would be okay. And speaking of okay, we are done with our titration calculations. Let me know if you found that helpful. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and leave a comment with what you want to see next. Make sure you've also subscribed and you've hit that bell icon so you get notified when our future videos come out. Don't forget to click the link in the description for your free knowledge organizer on this topic. And for your free study notes that come with video explainers, practice questions, and video solutions, make sure you click the My Resources link below as well. See you in the next one. Bye.